Gute Woche and welcome to the Daily Tanya. We're going to learn the Shir of Shabbos, the 13th day of Shevat. And we're learning the end of the chapter 23 in Tanya. The Alter Rebbe talks in this chapter about the way we connect with Hashem through the mitzvahs and the way we connect with Hashem through learning of the Torah. And he explains how by doing mitzvah, the Zohar says that the mitzvahs are considered the organs of Hashem. And just like an organ is an expression of the soul and it is nullified to the soul, when you want to move your hand, the hand moves automatically. And the same thing is when a Jew does a mitzvah, you become Hashem's organ and you become nullified to Hashem. When you learn Torah, Torah is even a greater level of unity with God. As the Zohar says, that the Reise, the Kutsha Brichu Kulachat, the Torah and Hashem is one. And when you study the Torah, you are literally becoming one with Hashem. Because the wisdom of the Torah is the wisdom of God, and God and his wisdom are inseparable. They're one. So imagine what great unity is caused between a Jew and Hashem when he studies Torah. There's no way, there's no anything that is comparable to this. Do we understand this? Do we understand why the greatness of this, what we accomplish? No. If we would be completely overwhelmed and nullified in the great level of godliness that happens. There's an analogy that is given of a king who wanted to hire a specialist to place a very, very, very expensive stone in his royal crown. And he hired very special people. People appreciated what is a king and what is the crown. And this precious stone that is worth unimaginable, it is priceless. And by the time when he hired the people, they tried to take the stone and place it into the crown, and they just couldn't. They couldn't do it. They were so nervous with the value, with the pride, that holding the stone, they were shaking. They couldn't put it in the place. What did they do? They decided to go to a village where there was a peasant, people who had no idea what is a king, what is a crown, what is the price of the value of this. And they gave the king, and they gave the simple person, they gave him told them, take this stone and put it in this place, and said, no problem. He took the stone and put it in, and everything was okay. You see, we have no idea. We have no idea the preciousness, the value of the godly revelation that is in the Torah. When we study the Torah, it is priceless. So no matter what situation you are, opening a Torah book and studying the Torah, whether it's in the levels that you can understand deeply, the Talmud, the Mishnah, or even people who cannot understand, they read the Bible, they read the Torah, they read Tehillim. This is studying of Torah has this great precious value. And this leads, Alter Rebbe says, this leads you to the greater level of fear of Hashem, the awe of Hashem, as if when you're standing in front of the king. So let's see today's lesson inside. Says the Alter Rebbe, "Ubazeh yuvan lama godlo me'oid mailas ha'isik b'Torah yoyse mikol ha'mitzvos." This discussion of the exalted unity with God attained through the Torah study, which is even greater than that accomplished by performing the mitzvahs. This explains why Torah study is so much loftier than all the other commandments. Va'afilu mitfilah is even greater and loftier, even including even the prayer. Shu yichud elam esalyonim, that the prayer which affects unity with the supernal worlds, because prayer is a very special high level, we connect to Hashem, but yet the Torah study is even greater unity with Hashem than the prayer. And the Alter Rebbe adds in the brackets that if this is the case, then how come if we're in the middle of studying, we stop to pray? If studying is considered a higher level of unity, why don't we just continue to study Torah? And the Alter Rebbe explains the reason why we stop to pray is because we stop anyway. It's not like we're studying Torah 24/7. If a person would always study Torah, back in the days there was great tzaddikim and holy people, that they would not stop even for prayer. But we stop anyway studying, so that's why we need to pray. That's what Alter Rebbe says, although the law requires of anyone whose Torah study is not his entire occupation, that he interrupts his study for prayer, says the Alter Rebbe, this is so only because he would in any case pause and interrupt his studies. But anyway, what we see from here is the main thing, the prayer, the study of the Torah is such of a high level of godly revelation, being united with Hashem. Umizeh, says Alter Rebbe, Yuchal amaskil lehamshich olav yira gdoilo be'oske b'Torah. From this explanation of the lofty stature of Torah study, the wise man will be able to draw upon himself a sense of great awe as he engages in the Torah, in the study of Torah. So when you think about what you are accomplishing by studying Torah, this leads you and opens you. This is like a gateway that opens you to a great awe of Hashem. שבמוחי ובפיו הם מיוחדים ממש בתכלס הייחוד ברצון העליון, when he considers how his soul and its garments of thought and speech that are found in his brain and mouth are truly fused in perfect unity with the divine will. And the infinite light of the Ein Sof that is manifest in them, meaning in the soul and its garments when he studies Torah. And this is something, what level of godliness is revealed through the study of Torah is what level of godliness is the person united with? Says that, the Alter Rebbe says this is the level of what we call the Sovev Kol Almin. Sovev Kol Almin, this is the level of godliness that is encompassing the worlds. Meaning even in the higher spiritual worlds, they are considered as nothing compared to this level of godliness. And yet, when you study Torah, you are united with that level of godliness. This infinite light manifest in one's Torah study is of such a lofty level that all of the upper and lower worlds are truly as naught in comparison with it, and are in fact as absolutely nothing at all. So much so that they can only bear to have a minute glow of it clothed in them without their reverting to nothingness altogether. Elasoivev kol almin bebchinas makif lachayosam ika chayusam rak eza aora mislabeshev b'seicham. Only a small level of light is clothed in them. Mashe yecholim lizbosh lo yisbatel b'mtzias legamre. The main life force which they receive from it is the minute level of godliness, of godly flow. However, is not clothed within them, but animates them from outside, so to speak, in a transcendent, encompassing manner. And this the Alter Rebbe explains an interesting verse that says, the Torah says, that God commanded us to observe the laws, so to fear Hashem, which seems to be a little strange because we would normally think, the way we understand, we fear Hashem, and the fear of Hashem leads to observing the laws. Here it says no. God commanded us to do the laws in order to fear Hashem. Says the Alter Rebbe Shekosov Eitzaveinu Hashem. This is the meaning of the verse. And God commanded us to fulfill all these statutes in order to fear God. So how do you explain this? So the Alter Rebbe explains that we're talking about two levels of fear. The simple level of fear Hashem leads to do the mitzvah because you fear Hashem, you don't want to be disconnected from Hashem. But when there is a higher level of fear, the fear that a person becomes as if standing in front of the king and becomes completely in his mind understanding the greatness of Hashem. That is as a result of doing the mitzvahs, and certainly even more as a result of studying the Torah. Regarding this great fear, our sages said, if there is no wisdom, there is no fear. This comes from the Pirkei Avos. It says, in the Pirkei Avos, it says two statements. It says, if there is no fear, there is no wisdom. And if there is no wisdom, there is no fear. Wisdom, of course, referring to study of the Torah. So this is talking about the two levels of fear. The lower level of fear leads you to study the Torah and do the mitzvahs. And doing the mitzvahs and studying the Torah leads you to the higher level of fear. In this context, wisdom represents Torah study, and fear, the higher level of the awe of God, which can be reached only by way of Torah. By contrast, the statement, if there is no fear, there is no wisdom, refers to the lower level of fear, which is a prerequisite for the Torah study, as stated above. In relation to this level of fear, the Torah is called a gateway to the courtyard. Meaning, the sole means of entering the courtyard, meaning the higher level of fear, as explained elsewhere. So the only way of entering the higher level of fear is through the study of the Torah. However, says Alter Rebbe, not every person is capable of appreciating this great level of fear and to reach that level. But the fact is, just like the present who's holding the gem, the fact that he does not appreciate what the gem is, the value of the gem, does not make it any less valuable. Says the Alter Rebbe, the lav kol moicha savil da yirakazu. Not every mind, however, can sustain such a fear. אך גם מאן דלא יסובל מויכל כלל ירזו, לא ימינו ולא מקצתו, מפני בחיסס ערך נפשו בשורשו מקורו. However, it says, yet even he, whose mind cannot bear such a fear, not even a minute part of it, because the root and the source of his soul derives from an inferior level. The madrega is tachtoines, the esas spheres, the asiyah, the lower gradations of the 10 spheres of the world of asiyah. Says nevertheless, even he should not be deterred from actual performance of the Torah and the mitzvahs for want of this fear, as will be explained further. So this Alter Rebbe gives us this amazing understanding and explaining to us what is the greatness of the studying the Torah and doing the mitzvahs. We know this is one of the things the Baal Shem Tov introduced, the fact that it's not about how much knowledge you have in the Torah. But Baal Shem Tov explained how simple people who have no understanding at all, they can achieve great unity and connection with God through the simple reading of the words of a Torah, and then Tehillim, sing the Tehillim, the Psalms. So this explains, because this is a common denominator between all of the mitzvahs and all of the Torah in general. That's why it says, Oisek b'mitzvah, poter min mitzvah. If one is occupied doing one mitzvah, he's exempt from doing other mitzvahs. Why? Because there is this common denominator of connecting us with Hashem. The mitzvah connect us with God, no matter what mitzvah you do. And certainly the connection with God, as we said, that by learning of the Torah, studying Torah, is something which is of value, which is greater than anything else in the world. So this is the end of today's shir. We'll see you tomorrow, B'ezrat Hashem.